Hi guys, Blake here with Lilley's Landing Resort and Marina on beautiful Upper Lake Taneycomo. It is Monday, March the 29th, and I'm going to do the one cast for you today. So, today I've boated up. I'm sitting right underneath the cable here, and I'm going to try throwing an 1/8 ounce white and gray Lilley's jig on 4-pound Trilene XL line. I'm using a Lilley's Landing 6'6" medium light with a fast action tip rod, and that is on a Presidential 25 reel. And conditions today, they're still running a full 3 generators for like 9,700 CFS or something. Maybe just a little tad under. We got 72, 73 degrees here today. Not a cloud in the sky. And so today, definitely from this morning, lots of good reports on the white bite. Levi took some of his family out this morning fishing, and they came up here and fished white jigs and white and gray jigs. Said they caught quite a few fish. Captain Darren Sadler, they were throwing a white and gray jig today and came back to the dock with a rainbow that was over 7 pounds. Let's see. I believe Captain Steve Dickey, they had a big 24-inch rainbow this morning. And from what I understand, Captain Welch, they also landed a big 8-pound brown this morning. So lots of big fish out cruising around looking for these shad, looking to fill their bellies again. So yesterday we got so many shad in the lake that there were still a few shad. Now not quite as in numbers, but there were still a few shad floating past the dock at 10:30 this morning when I came in to clock in. And I'm actually still seeing a couple up here in the water. So I don't know, that might mean there's still some coming through the generators. Talked to Captain Chuck Grice earlier, and he said they were all the way down in one of the creeks down towards the landing, and that they were chasing a school of shad that was bigger than his boat, and the trout in the creek were chasing those shad around. So plenty of shad came over dead yesterday, but quite a few, I imagine, made it over alive and are now schooling in different parts of the lake, which is gonna do awesome things for the upcoming month or two, with bringing big brown trout up the lake to chase these schools of shad around. And these fish are going to be looking for shad for a while, even after some of these numbers die off and some of them go down the lake. When you get enough that it brings schools of shad in, I know a lot of those schools like to hang out in the Cooper Creek Flat down by Monkey Island. Last spring, whenever this happened and we had a huge shad run, there were browns in between that stretch chasing schools of shad for a couple months. So that is really great news. Nothing officially on the first cast. I imagine that the fishing, well, I'm out at the worst part of the day right now. Sun's way up in the air, so that's not going to help my cause today. But I imagine that the fishing was a little better today than it was yesterday after they saw those shad. They had their bellies quite full. But the next couple days should get even better. As they find fewer and fewer shad, they'll be more apt to go for the cheap imitation. Yesterday I noticed that a lot of fish were surfacing near the edges where the dead shad were floating along the bank, and they're still running 3 generators, so that's, you know, even though it's not as much current that was running, it's still a lot of current for them, so they're still going to be posted up against the banks and the slower water sections, and they're still going to have those shad on their mind, because as the shad get pushed down the lake, especially the dead ones, they get pushed up against those edges, and so those fish are still going to be up on these little eddies created by the bank, getting out of the current and looking for a shad dinner. So I talked to a few guys that said they felt like the white bite was actually better down outside of the trophy area. So from Fall Creek down, they said they felt like they were catching even more down there early this morning into early afternoon. So I'm going to suggest anything white shad flies, a couple white power eggs if you're down there fishing below Fall Creek, minnows. I imagine coming out later this evening when the sun sets a little bit would probably be a better time to be out here than I am right now. But they're still seeing a good number of shad, and some of their bellies are still full from yesterday. So the bite will only get better as the next couple days go on. So some of these eddies up here, like behind the island and your bigger eddies, some of these dead shad that have floated should be getting schooled into there, and those are going to be good spots to try. And take your boat and anchor off in the eddy. I know Darren Sadler this morning, when they caught that big rainbow, said that there was a big pocket, a big eddy pocket in front of Lookout Island, and that there was a bunch of dead shad swirling in that eddy pocket, and that was where they hooked that big rainbow at. I'm actually gonna start scooting my way. I'm going on the back side of the island across from Outlet 2 right now, and I'm actually gonna scoot my way over here against the edge of the island so that I can pull off in the eddy, which looks like there's another boat doing that right now, so maybe I don't want to take their fishing spot. They beat me to it fair and square. Yep, it looks like they are pulling up in there, so I'm not gonna jump in there and spot lock in front of them. But that would be a good thing to do, assuming there's not already someone fishing there. Another thing to try here soon would be getting a jig, and a white jig, and drifting it underneath an indicator. Well, maybe he's not. He's going down lake. I'm gonna jump in here. So I just pulled off into the eddy behind the island. I'm going to scoot down just a wee bit. And then I'm going to spot lock here for a second. Okay. So with this, I'm going to throw, now that I'm anchored, I'm going to throw a little bit upstream. Give that jig a second for the current to push it down to the bottom. We're just going to kind of let it swing back behind the boat and give it a little action. I even sometimes let a little bit of extra line out once it starts getting straight back behind the boat, kind of keep it closer to the bottom. And sometimes you can just let that jig hang back there in the current and they'll come up and snatch it. Found a little bit of moss, definitely getting to the bottom. Try this side of the boat. Oh, there was one. I just saw a fish come up and snag a shad floating on the water. Seen a good number of fish right out here on the edge of the current. Just don't seem to be interested in my cheap imitation. Alright, one more cast doing this, and I'm just going to keep on drifting down the lake. But if you're going to be up here, try this. Anywhere where you can find a good little eddy, get your boat in there, anchor it off, and get a few casts on either side, because like I said, those, oh, that might have been a fish. Oh, that might have been a fish. Alright, let's go back to drifting. really trying to not move that jig a whole lot. If you watch some of those shad come over in the water, you'd notice that even whenever they moved, it was just little tiny movements. Good, how are you?
Good, no fish.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't even see them swimming by. Usually they're all over you.
There was a good amount of them swimming right over there in the up there by the island. I couldn't get any of them. I couldn't get any of them to bite though. Good luck to you. Let's try a couple casts out in the middle. Maybe I'm fishing the wrong spot. Just went over rebar hole in the root wad. It was just in front of me a second ago. So, from what I can take it, fishing's still a little slow, especially this time of the day. If you get out early in the morning, you got a lot better of a chance of catching some more fish. And it might be that you need to go down lake with this method and just fish a little farther down where maybe they didn't get so full on shad yesterday evening. I've noticed quite a few boats, even today, catching fish out in front of our dock. I would assume they're dragging night crawlers or power bait, but just about every boat I've seen go by today was hooked up with a fish, so might be a decent collection of fish out in front of our dock. I'm just going to keep switching sides here until I find a bite. From what I took from most of everybody who was fishing today, you still needed to get that jig all the way to the bottom. 3 generators of current, still a lot of current, so those fish are still going to be holding to the bottom. You're going to have to get it right in front of them, get them to take it. I think soon will be a good time to give these fish a couple days to start having to try harder to find these shad, and they'll probably start going for jerk baits a little bit better. Oh, I had a brown trout come up to the boat just now. He wasn't very big, but he chased it all the way to the boat. Just when I said you gotta have it on the bottom and they're not gonna chase it, one followed it all the way to the boat. There's always exceptions to a rule. couple casts on this side. I better make sure I don't hit these logs here. Just now entering what they call the big hole, or rocking chair as some others call it. I think those are the same thing. Goes from this big flat right here off into the deep water. I'm kind of waiting until I feel my jig hit the bottom before I give it a little pop. And so far, the only bite I've had was out towards, or the only follower I've had was out towards the middle, so I'm gonna fish out towards the middle. And that's always a good rule of thumb too. Whenever the sun's super high, there's a good chance those fish have gone to darker, deeper water. So if you can't find them over in the shallower sides during the middle of the day, flip over to the deep water and try there. Tough crowd out here today. I was really thinking I'd find at least one that was hungry again. So I'm using this 1/8 ounce still. Number one, because I'm throwing it on 4-pound tests. That 4-pound test is going to slow that jig down just a little bit. And number two, we still want to fish it on the bottom. And so that 1/8 ounce kind of helps ensure that I'm getting down there to the bottom where I need to be at. You could fish a 3/32 ounce right now too, especially if you're on 2-pound tests. I do have one rod set up that way. But with the water moving this fast still, line visibility isn't necessarily too big of an issue. 4 pounds going to be all right. Right now I'm just kind of letting the jig drag and see if that changes my luck any. It's possible I was still working it too fast. And I'm still seeing a couple shad floating through here. I would think that by now the current would have pushed everything that had come through the floodgates out. So it's totally possible that there's some coming through those generators still. And it looks, I just got a text message and Ryan needs my help putting a boat in the water, so I'm not going to be able to milk a couple more minutes to see if I can catch a fish. So we're going to call it skunked for me again. But we thank you guys for watching today. Like and share us on Facebook. And hopefully this white bite will keep getting better and I can show you what a fish looks like tomorrow. But we thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.